This video is about how to find how many electrons are in an atom. So the first question you should ask yourself when you're looking at how many electrons there are is, do I see a plus or a minus sign like this? Or do I see something blank where it's kind of neutral like that? If it is neutral, the way you find electrons is that the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. And the way you can think about this, if protons are a 1 plus charge and electrons are a 1 minus charge, if the atom is neutral, that means that all of the positives have to cancel out the negatives. So the way that you would find how many electrons there are in a neutral atom, you would just go ahead and look at the atomic number, which is that number we keep talking about at the top of the element symbol. But it's not always going to be a neutral atom, okay? You can look, I'll change the color. Let's look at red. Right up here. This is something called an ion. Specifically, it's called a cation because it has a positive charge. On the other hand, anions, like this, those guys are negatively charged ions. So in this case, when we have a cation, we want to find out how many electrons there are, the formula we use is number of electrons equals the number of protons minus the charge that we were given in that isotope notation. So in this case, in this cation one, we're going to say number of electrons equals the number of protons. Remember, we go to the periodic table and look for that number, that whole number right up there to find our protons. Calcium is always going to be a 20. And then we're going to subtract the charge. So always put the charge in parentheses. This would be a plus 2. So 20 minus a positive 2 would be 18 electrons. And we could sit here and think, hey, if I'm getting rid of something negative, I should become positive. I should have more protons than electrons if I get rid of electrons. And this makes sense, right? If I have an overall 2 plus charge, I should have 2 more protons than electrons because protons are positive. Now for an anion, you're still going to do the same thing. You're going to do number of electrons equals number of protons minus your charge. So in this case, for fluorine 1 minus, if there's no number by it, you can assume a 1. It's just because we're lazy. We're going to say number of electrons equals number of protons. So I'm going to go up the periodic table. I'm going to see that fluorine is always going to have a number 9 for its protons because that's like its ID number. And then I'm going to subtract the charge that I was given. Again, I'm going to put that in parentheses. 9 minus a negative 1 ends up telling us that these guys become plus signs because of math. So that would be 10 electrons. And we should sit here and think, hey, if I have an overall negative charge right here, I should have more electrons than protons because I'm becoming more negative. So I can look here, 10 electrons is more than 9 protons, which means that makes sense for me.